بالترهيب تمكنت حركة الشباب المتشددة الصومالية باختراق القطاعات المختلفة للمجتمع الصومالي، وذلك من خلال إمساك القيادة بنظام صارم ضمن الجماعة والاعتماد على الانضباط والتخطيط المحكم في هيكليتها من القاعدة وحتى القمة، ما جعلها تفرض وجودها بشكل قوي ضمن المجتمع وفي وجه الدولة، واستندت بذلك إلى نشر الرعب والفوضى. ولعل قتل الصحفي الصومالي مدير راديو مقديشو مؤخرا هو أبرز تجسيد على مدى الوحشية التي وصلت إليها حركة الشباب. فكيف تعمل تلك الجماعة؟ وكيف تنشط في الصومال؟ كيف تطبق أحكام الشريعة؟ وكيف تستغل الزكاة لتمويل نشاطاتها؟ وماذا عن الخلافات الداخلية بين عناصرها وارتباطاتها بالقاعدة؟
It has different departments, 7 to 12. It changes from time to time because sometimes they merge departments or ministries. Sometimes they separate them. And these ministries are controlled by individuals who make up the 10 feet or the executive council of Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab has two councils, the executive council and the Shura council. Always the executive council, which accommodates all the leaders of the different departments, is the most powerful and most influential. They have the defense department, they have media department, they have taxation and zakat department. They also have jabhat, amniyat, education, da'wah, all kinds of different departments. They also have walis or governors of regions. In even areas they do not control, they have a shadow governor so that they can continue to influence and inject themselves into the local politics. So this is how Al-Shabaab operates. They have as I call Jabha department, that is the military or defense department. They attack towns, they carry out ambushes against Somali government forces and African Union troops in Somalia. They also have Amniyat. Amniyat are the elite group of Al-Shabaab. They carry out assassinations, explosions, and they collect intelligence from government areas and also within Al-Shabaab. So that's how Al-Shabaab is set up.
خسرت حركة الشباب في كل المدن الكبرى في الصومال أمام قوات الحكومة الصومالية وقوات حفظ السلام التابعة للاتحاد الأفريقي في الصومال، لكنها مع ذلك لا تزال تسيطر على أجزاء كبيرة من ريف البلاد بحسب ما أوضح هارون، وتقوم بتطبيق الشريعة في الأماكن التي تسيطر عليها. وقد تحدث هارون عن أوجه تطبيقهم للشريعة.
It has courts. These courts do not recognize they do not hold or appoint lawyers for the people who are accused. They carry out jurisdictions according to the Sharia. People their hands are chopped off. Sometimes a hand and a leg are chopped off. Some people are executed. On regular basis, they execute people they accuse of being spies for the Western intelligence agencies. But there is a serious accusation that Al-Shabaab tortures these individuals in order to force them to confess to being spies for Western intelligence agencies. So they do apply some form of Sharia. They carry out explosions, indiscriminate attacks in populated areas, and they justify that according to their own interpretation. So there are serious questions about the legitimacy and the fairness of Al-Shabaab courts. Use Sharia as the basis when they're carrying out jurisprudence and jurisdictions in the court system in Somalia. So their argument doesn't hold when it comes to other Somalis, but it's our interpretation of the version of the Islam that they believe in.
ينطلق رسوخ الشباب في المجتمع الصومالي الذي أشار إليه معروف من حقيقة أنها تمكنت من التغلغل في المجتمع والسيطرة على مفاصل حيوية ورئيسية في الدولة، فقد تسللت إلى مجتمع الأعمال ونظام الموانئ والقطاعات الاقتصادية للبلاد. يتلقون معلومات حول ما يتم استيراده وما يتم تصديره، فيتصلون مباشرة بمجتمع الأعمال والأشخاص المشاركين في تلك الأعمال ويطلبون منهم اقتطاع جزء من الأرباح لهم.
There is zakat, which is recognized in Islam, but Al-Shabaab misuses that. There is also a money they call support to, in their own interpretation, support to Islam, and this money can be different amounts. They approach and call businesses based on the wealth they assume these individuals have, and they tell them, and they usually know the wealth and the amount of money that certain individuals have. This is what their intelligence department collects, and they claim that they need a section, a cut of their money, and if these individuals turn them down, they know they're going to be attacked. They also collect money from trucks that are traveling or transporting goods throughout the country, because Al-Shabaab is in the countryside. They erect checkpoints in all the major highways in the country, and when trucks are transporting goods from the port in Mogadishu to a different region, they have to go through an area controlled by Al-Shabaab, and they cannot go through that area unless they pay Al-Shabaab.
من الملاحظ مؤخرا ازدياد نسبة الفظائع والإرهاب الذي ترتكبه حركة الشباب، ومن أجل الإثبات للقاعدة بأن تنظيمهم الإيديولوجي ينفذ الجهاد في خط المواجهة الأمامي في الصومال، عليهم القيام بذلك، وعليهم مهاجمة القوات الأمريكية وقوات الاتحاد الأفريقي وأحيانا مواقع مدنية، وفي معظم الأحيان أهداف وهجمات مدنية كتلك التي استهدفت مؤخرا صحفيا كان شديد الانتقاد لهم. ويشرح معروف ارتباطات الشباب بالقاعدة، مؤكدا أنها تشكل فرعا لها.
Al-Shabaab has joined Al-Qaeda in 2012. That is almost 9 years ago. They are part of Al-Qaeda. Although majority of Al-Shabaab members and their leaders are Somalis, nonetheless they are allied with Al-Qaeda. They have given allegiance to Al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri. Al-Qaeda has a history of supporting Al-Shabaab. They sent individuals to Somalia in early 90s to mentor, to train Al-Shabaab leaders. But also Al-Shabaab sent individuals to Afghanistan when the Taliban and Al-Qaeda were controlling in Afghanistan. So some of the Al-Shabaab leaders have been trained there and they came back to Somalia and they are part of the operations now. So when their operations and their attacks are part of the continuation of Al-Qaeda attacks in other parts of the country. But on the other hand, there are also Al-Qaeda branches. Sometimes they attack other countries. For instance, if you remember last year.
كغيرها من الحركات تواجه حركة الشباب الصومالية الإنشقاقات الداخلية، وهي تتبع نهجا شبيها بذلك الذي تتبعه القاعدة في اليمن، حيث اشتهر الظواهري ببيع منافسيه.
The deputy leader of Al-Shabaab, Sheikh Mukhtar Robo Abu Mansour, has defected the group in 2017. Also, other individuals, including the former head of the military intelligence of Al-Shabaab, defected. A number of other junior officials defected. If you talk to the Somali government, they will tell you that thousands of ordinary members have defected from Al-Shabaab over the years. So still, people defect from Al-Shabaab and change their idea, but the ideology of Al-Shabaab is not expanding in Somalia, and most of the Somalis do not support Al-Shabaab. So that is that works against them, and that works in favor of the Somali government and in favor of the African Union peacekeepers in Somalia. It's very unlikely that as long as African Union troops are in Somalia supporting the Somali government, as long as the international community is supporting the Somali government, and as long as the Somali government ultimately builds its own army and security organizations, it's very unlikely Al-Shabaab will succeed. to overthrow the Somali government.
معروف أكد أن الشباب يطاردون الأفراد الذين يتهمونهم بالتجسس، وقد تم إعدام عدد من هؤلاء على مدار أعوام. ثمة تساؤلات حول كيفية إدانة هؤلاء بالجرائم واتهامهم بها، لأنهم كانوا يتهمون بالتجسس كل من خالفهم الرأي وكان له تفكير ضد إيديولوجيتهم فينتقمون منه ويقومون بإعدامه.
And some of the people who expressed that discontent were among the top leaders of Al-Shabaab. One of them was one of the founders of Al-Shabaab, Ibrahim Haji Jama' Me'ad. He was known as Ibrahim Al-Afghan because he came back from Afghanistan in order to set up Al-Shabaab in Somalia. But he disagreed. He had differences with the leader of Al-Shabaab at the time in 2013, and he was executed along with another top leader of Al-Shabaab by the name Ma'alin Hashi Burhan. So Al-Shabaab do carry out attacks and revenge attacks against individuals they believe to be against their leaders. Al-Shabaab also had differences with some of the leadership, in particular a cleric by the name Sheikh Abdul Qadir Mumin in 2015. Sheikh Abdul Qadir Mumin and some leaders within Al-Shabaab proposed that Al-Shabaab merges with the Islamic State in Iraq and Afghanistan, the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. But Al-Shabaab leadership rejected that idea. In the end, Abdul Qadir Mumin defected and he pledged allegiance to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. And that's why today we have a small group of ISIS branch in northeastern Somalia.
يؤكد معروف أن الشباب يتذرعون بتهمة التجسس فيلصقونها بكل من خالفهم الرأي لتصفيته وإزاحته من الطريق، بالاستناد إلى معلومات حصل عليها من بعض المنشقين الذين تحدث إليهم قبل عامين. بقيت حركة الشباب منظمة صومالية لأنها فشلت بشكل عام باستقطاب المقاتلين الأجانب، سواء كان من الشرق أو الغرب أو حتى من البلدان الأفريقية. يدفع الفقر والبطالة بكثر إلى الانضمام للحركة التي تعدهم بالمال والازدهار وتطبيق الشريعة الإسلامية، قبل أن يكتشف هؤلاء أنهم وقعوا في فخ كبير، فيبدأون بالبحث عن فرصة للهروب، ما دفع الحركة للجوء إلى التجنيد بالإكراه. من الواضح أن حركة الشباب لم تعد كما كانت يوم تأسيسها في العام 2007، فانشقاق واستسلام أفرادها أصبح لافتا في الآونة الأخيرة، بالإضافة إلى أن الهجمات على معاقل الحركة في جنوب الصومال ورفض القبائل لممارسات الحركة وأبرزها فرض الأتوات على الناس دفعها لفتح جبهات عديدة، ما ضرب تماسكها وقوتها بالصميم.